We're from Caracas. I'm Cody Weddle. Today we're joining you from the Ministry of Sport for Venezuela here in Caracas, and I'm joined by Duglexer Gonzalez. Around these parts, he's better known as Muzampa Khalifa, and as you may have already figured out here, he is a sumo wrestler, a relatively new sport here in Venezuela. He has won some championships, and he's also an instructor of that sport here in Venezuela. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Muzampa.
Now I asked you before, and you said it was not rude to ask this. How much do you weigh?
I weigh 485 pounds.
Okay. Why do they call you Muzampa Khalifa? Tell me how you got that name here at this gym.
Sí,
When I was young, I was part of the hip-hop movement. I love hip-hop music. I am a hip-hop singer. And my artistic name is MC Muzampa. Then, I added Khalifa to it to embellish my artistic name, Muzampa Khalifa. And I am also known as King Muzampa Khalifa. As I told you, I'm a hip-hop singer, and I also practice sumo. So that's my nickname. People can call me this way.
Que me identifiquen así.
So you have sort of two hobbies here, or two passions, I guess. You're a sumo wrestler and you like hip-hop. Let's talk about your beginnings in sumo wrestling. How did you get involved with sumo wrestling in the first place? Tell me a little bit about yourself before sumo wrestling and how you started here.
Yo soy oriundo de la parroquia La Vega, acá en Caracas. Fui un joven como todos.
I come from the La Vega sector here in Caracas. As a child, I was brought up with education. I went to elementary school and high school. But I also got involved with some grassroots movements in my neighborhood. I learned to differentiate the good from the evil. Then, I started sharing that experience with my lyrics, with the freestyle. Then, the Venezuelan National Institute for Sports approached me, and then I joined them. I got to know the gymnasium they have in Caracas. I started practicing Olympic fight, Greco-Romanic wrestling, but I did not practice it long. After that, I started practicing Sambo, a Russian martial art, with my coach Luis Adrianza, who is a sensei master in Sambo. He encouraged me to keep practicing Sambo. I have traveled abroad. Once, I participated in a Pan American Championship. I won the second position. I fought the final with a fellow Venezuelan. He won the fight, and he was awarded the gold medal. I also fought in another championship in Panama City. This time it was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I won the championship. I went there several times, but I had to stop practicing for a while due to an accident. But as soon as I started fighting again, I went to the National Sumo Championship in the Aragua State, Venezuela. I won the third place. I kept practicing sumo, and nowadays I'm a sumo instructor. 1, 2, 3. I kept practicing sumo, and nowadays I'm a sumo instructor, officially approved by the Venezuelan Federation of Sumo and the Sumo Association in Caracas. We use sumo as part of crime prevention. for the transformation of society and to share a message of change with this practice to children in the slums here in Caracas.
Como materia de prevención del delito, como herramienta pedagógica para la transformación social y para llevar un mensaje transformador a través del deporte a los niños de las barriadas acá de Caracas.
And right now you just practice sumo, or do you still practice samba?
Sumo.
Currently, I just practice sumo. Sumo is my life. I love it. I am an instructor. I talk about sumo. Everything in my life is related to sumo wrestling. I go to different communities to show sumo to the people because it is a practice that is virtually new here in Caracas. And I think there is lots of potential in Venezuela, and in the future, we could participate in the Olympics with sumo. That's why I think we need to encourage people, something that we do through the different activities the National Sumo Federation carries out, together with the different national organizations.
Yeah, expand a little bit on that. What is it about sumo that attracts you, that you enjoy doing?
Estar en el sumo es vivir un mundo marcial basado en la
espiritualidad. To be involved with sumo wrestling is about living with discipline and respect, not only to your contender, but also to your master. Sumo wrestling has been practiced for more than 2,000 years. It is a traditional sport in Japan. And now, little by little, people in Venezuela start practicing it. In Brazil, they've been practicing sumo for about 14 years. But we've been practicing it for 3 years. Here in Venezuela, there is still work to do. In 3 years, we have held 2 national championships for adults and 1 national championship for the youth.
2 campeonatos nacionales adulto y un campeonato nacional juvenil.
So it sounds like you were talking a little bit earlier. It sounds like there's it's a sport, but there's also sort of a culture that goes with the sport and with Sumo. Tell me a little bit about that. Is that true?
Sí, no solo es un deporte, es una cultura religiosa, proviene del sintoísmo.
Okay. Sumo is not just a sport, it is also related with religion. It is actually related to Shinto and Taoism. And that relation is very present during the wrestling. Because it's kind of a ritual, a spiritual ritual with harmony. You enter a circle of purity and respect towards your opponent. As a wrestler, you have both strength and harmony, taking into account that it is a fight that is fought before the gods. When you perform the shirishotsu, you reflect the purity of sumo, purity and respect. You show the public and the gods that it is a clean and pure fight, with no weapons. We, as the wrestlers, are the weapons.
La mirada de los dioses, que uno viene a hacer un combate limpio, viene a ser un combate sin armas, que nuestras armas somos nosotros, pues como guerreros.
And we're far away from Japan, but do you still feel like you connect with that sort of deeper cultural significance of the sport here in Venezuela?
Sí, me identifico. Me identifico porque acabamos un poquito los matices de los tabú cuando hablamos de sumo.
Yes, I identify myself with that culture because we end with the stereotypes and taboos. Many people, when they see an obese person or a fat person, they discriminate them for being fat. But we can actually carry out physical activities and sports. So we can identify with the Japanese culture. Many think of it as a taboo. They say that sumo wrestling is just for fat people, but it is not so. Here in Venezuela, we have kids practicing sumo. And as I told you, we already had a national championship for the youth. And Caracas had a good performance, thanks to these teams we have here. People who see sumo as part of a religion that can contribute to improve the quality of life of the population.
El cual nos identificamos con el sumo como una cultura religiosa a la cual nosotros podemos contribuir a un mejor país incluso.
Yeah, you were telling me a little bit before we started. You said it's sort of characterized that or stereotyped, I said, as a sport for really, really big guys, but not necessarily, that's not necessarily always the case.
Sí.
That's right. This sport is not limited exclusively to people above average weight. Actually, amateur tournaments are divided into 3 different weight categories. There are the men lightweight category, which is up to 187 pounds, the middleweight category up to 254 pounds, and the heavyweight category over 254 pounds, which is the category I belong to. There are also open weight competitions in which people from different categories can compete with each other. So, even though I weigh 485 pounds, I would be able to compete with a wrestler weighing 187 pounds in an open weight tournament. There is no weight limit in these kind of tournaments.
So explain to me the sport just a little bit, because many people don't understand. They don't understand how somebody of your size could compete with somebody like me. So basic rules here. How's the sport work?
Primero te tendría que decir que el sumo se pelea en un dojo con una circunferencia de
First of all, sumo wrestling takes place in a ring called dojo that has 4.55 meters in diameter. The wrestlers enter the ring, placing themselves in a distance of 70 centimeters across from each other. But before the fight, a greeting ceremony called chirichotsu is held. This ceremony starts by entering the ring, and that's the wrestler's way to ask for the public and God's attention. After the greeting ceremony, both wrestlers place themselves at the center of the ring, behind the starting lines, where they take the ready positions. The fight begins when the referee yells hakeyoi, which is a Japanese word to indicate the beginning of the fight. Sumo wrestlers don't assume a standing position. For the first impact, they spread their knees, lean their bodies to the front, and place their fists to the ground.
You're explaining that this sport's been here for about 3 years here in Venezuela. Do you see it sort of developing here? Is there a lot of interest? Are people interested in a sport from Japan?
Sí. Se está haciendo un esfuerzo en conjunto.
The Venezuelan Federation of Sumo acts as the regulatory body and works along the national clubs and associations to promote sumo wrestling in our country and make it reachable for the masses. We are hopeful that within 2 years we will have 24 sumo associations in Venezuela, an association for every state. Currently, there are 8 national associations with international athletes and medalists. So that's the direction we are taking. We are working to make people more interested in sumo, and also to improve the athletes' performance through the development of their techniques.
El desarrollo técnico de los atletas hasta el alto rendimiento.
And you're also telling me it's a good sport because it's not an expensive sport, that there are a lot of sports that are, especially martial arts, that can be very expensive, but in this case, Sumo is not that expensive.
Sí. El sumo es un
Sumo
arte marcial,
is an affordable martial art. You don't need much in order to practice it.
relativamente económico.
You would only need a
Solo
lycra spandex and the mawashi,
una licra,
which is the belt you use
una
for
licra,
sumo wrestling.
Y un mawashi. Mawashi, que es el cinturón.
So
cinturón que se
sumo
usa
is
en
an
el
affordable
sumo.
sport, and its affordability
El sumo es más económico
makes it easier to take it to the communities.
para llevarlo como proyecto piloto a las comunidades.
Sumo is also a very complete martial art.
También la realidad que es un deporte
You have the
combate
typical
muy
sumo
completo,
techniques,
muy
but
completo,
you can also
porque
combine
tienes
them
técnicas nativas del sumo,
with
pero
techniques
también
from different
puedes,
martial arts, such as
adherir
sambo,
técnicas a
judo,
otros deportes de
and
combate.
also wrestling.
Puede ser sambo, puede ser sumo, puede ser
Because
judo, puede
in
ser
terms of
lucha,
technique,
porque es
sumo wrestling and wrestling
es una
itself
lucha.
are really
Es una
similar.
lucha, lo que la diferencia es la
The
indumentaria.
clothing could be the main
Es
difference.
totalmente relativamente económica a comparación de
Karate and judo
karate,
are really
judo,
expensive martial
un
arts.
karategi,
Compared to them,
judogi
sumo is
sale
quite affordable.
muy caro.
And where would you like to see the sumo go here in Venezuela? What, in 10 years, where do you think the sport might be? Where do you hope it might be?
Grande. Veo el sumo venezolano muy grande. Nuestros atletas venezolanos son muy fuertes, son dedicados, son competidores.
I see sumo growing more popularity in Venezuela.
Del mundo que
Venezuelan
nuestros
athletes
atletas
are
venezolanos
strong,
han hecho
competitive,
muy bien,
and they
han
are
dejado
very
el
committed.
tricolor en alto.
They have represented our country
En el sumo
well in
tenemos
international
atletas medallistas
competitions.
mundiales.
They
Tenemos
have made our
una
country
chica,
proud.
tenemos una representación femenina, María
We
Cedeño,
have
del estado de
world
Aragua,
sumo
masculino y
medalists,
femenino a nivel
such
amateur.
as María Cedeño
Porque
from the
el
state
sumo
of Aragua here in
se
Venezuela.
clasifica entre amateur y
She's a
profesional.
medalist at the amateur
Profesional es
level.
netamente masculino. El amateur hay femenino y
Sumo has
masculino.
two divisions, the
Tenemos un
amateur
atleta
and the professional
medallista
division.
internacional, mundialista,
Women participate
María
in the
Cedeño del
amateur
estado de Aragua,
division and men in the professional division.
Ofelia Barrios del estado Barinas,
Ofelia Barrios, another Venezuelan, won a medal at the South American
octava en el
Sumo
mundial,
Championship,
ahorita
and she ended in the
Japón.
8th place in the Sumo World Championship held
A
recently
nivel
in
masculino
Japan.
tenemos el actual campeón suramericano, que es el estado Lara.
In men's category,
Juan Camacaro.
we have Juan
Tenemos
Camacaro
el campeón
and Juan
del
Carlos
año pasado, que
Castro,
Juan Carlos Castro,
who is last year's
del
national
estado-
champion.
del estado de Aragua.
So
Tenemos
we
atletas
have
muy
really
buenos.
good and
En el
committed
sumo,
athletes.
atletas muy buenos,
I
fajadores,
even won a gold
competidores.
medal in a Cup of
que
Friendship
lo
held
hacen
in
muy
Sao
bien.
Paulo, Brazil.
Incluso yo fui medalla de oro en la Copa de las Amistades, la Copa de la Integración en Sao Paulo, Brasil, con el equipo A de Venezuela, por equipo.
Okay, and very quickly, just to end, what are your goals in this sport? You said you're 28 years old, so you've already won plenty of medals and championships. Where do you hope to be? What are your plans with this sport?
En algún momento dado entraré en una
I will
situación de
retire at
retiro
some point.
como competidor.
My goal
Y
is to
la
continue
meta es
promoting
seguir
sumo in my
desarrollando el
country,
sumo, creciendo
but I
con el
want to
sumo,
continue doing so as
ya,
an
pero
instructor.
desde una óptica,
I would like to continue promoting sumo in
como
Venezuela,
entrenador y como
joining
dirigente.
efforts with the Venezuelan Federation of Sumo, which has
Impulsar
done a
el
great
sumo a
job so
nivel
far
nacional
with the
en
sport in the
apoyo
country.
a la Federación Venezolana de Sumo, que viene realizando un excelente trabajo en promover
And I would
el
like to
sumo a nivel
continue
nacional.
working close with the
Y
Association of
con
Sumo here in
nuestra
Caracas
asociación desde acá desde
in order
Caracas,
to
con
promote the
nuestra
practice of
asociación
sumo
del
in the
Distrito
different
Capital,
municipalities
tratar
of
de llevar
Caracas.
el sumo al menos a las 24 parroquias.
Okay, Duglexer Gonzalez, Muzampa Khalifa, muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much for joining us today to explain fascinating growth of sumo wrestling here in Venezuela. And thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Interviews from Caracas. We'll see you again next week.